Hello, loves. How are you? There is a lot that I want to talk to you about today, but the core of it is around the energies that are being processed in the heart space through the systems in between the divine counterpart, twin flame, divine feminine, divine masculine counterpart collectives. And this is something that I've been aware of deeply in my system, but also have received lots of confirmation from many of you in the comments, especially connected with yesterday's video around the divine masculine collective heart thawing and tremendous amounts of emotion coming up. If you haven't seen that, I'll drop it in the pinned comment. But I wanted to acknowledge because I think this came up for many of the feminines feeling like, why is all of this coming up? Have I gone backwards? The answer is no. In many cases, for those of you who are resonating with this, what is I'm being shown what is happening is that we've reached actually that stabilization point where kind of that baton is being passed in the physical world. There's always the energy, telepathic communication happening in the energetics, right, between the counterparts. But we've reached this point at a collective level, at least with those of you that resonate with this wave. And if you're not on it, that is okay. If your connection is in a different space, that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. And you still may want to listen so that you kind of may know what's coming, or you'll pick up some understanding or pointers if it resonates, right? Obviously, always if you're guided. But for those of you that are connecting with these deep emotional energies being processed, especially in the heart space, some of the things that you might notice that are different is that the feminines, many of you may notice, you're in a much more stabilized, neutral, tempered energy, even within your emotions. You may notice you're not pushing or pulling or projecting. You're not walling or icing or running or freezing or angry. You may notice that you're actually literally just standing in your truth and your true emotions in a very appropriate manner. Let me know if that resonates with you. Please drop that in the comments, because this is what I feel is a very big difference within the feminine collective, is because the divine feminines and sacred feminines have stabilized so deeply. Of course, we're all still evolving and growing, but there is this alignment into your truth, and you've tempered enough to be able to be honest about how you feel inside of yourself without needing anyone to do anything for you, without having the pushing or pulling or the running or the chasing or the freezing or the walling. You're feeling what you're feeling, you're acknowledging it, and you're holding space for yourself to process it, dear divine feminine beauties. Yes, which is totally appropriate. And if you sit with it, more than likely, you're probably noticing that the emotions that are coming up and how you're handling it is in alignment, because even as we move into our sacred essences and our true energies, we're still going to experience emotions, and our emotions are always there to tell us what we're needing to know about how to make steps forward. So when we're experiencing emotions, it's informing us on what moves to make as we allow ourselves to process and settle into those. I saw a comment and I wanted to acknowledge it because I think it's a very important part that many of you may also be aware, or this will help you become aware of your truth for yourself, is that you could very deeply and well be feeling the masculine collective and what they're opening and what they're processing. And what it's doing is it's also activating the shared space. So, in essence, it actually is bringing up some of the old stuff that was frozen, but it was where it was frozen in both of your systems, right? So, as things started to shut down, say you were in the love bubble phase and that phase starts to wane, and the trauma or the pain starts to set in and both parties start to freeze at that very core shared level, it feels like we're actually collectively, a wave of us are moving into that pocket to allow that to thaw and dropping in the results of who we are now, everything that we've learned up to this point into those places and spaces. Because remember, the love bubble phase is where we actually get to experience the truth of who we are at a soul level, at a higher level, and what that would feel like to be embodied into our physical life and our physical body, right? And then we go into the separation phases in the physical so that each party can work through whatever was brought up in the system, whatever distortion or distraction was brought up, so that it can get cleaned up, so that we actually can fully embody into those essences and maintain and sustain them while living our physical life, right? Not just for a brief amount of time, but those activations that happen within that soul merge and the love bubble phase are designed to support us with being able to work through those distortions so that we are able to hold those frequencies of who we actually are while we're living our life in the physical world. And so the fact that a portion of the collective is moving into this very deep shared space to thaw out those levels of distortion is actually a very, very exceedingly positive sign that we have stabilized, that we are ready to move to the next phase of bringing these energies into a more manifested physical fruition in whatever way your soul chooses to align with and partake in that, right? Depending on what you choose together in your own sovereignty, but then yes, together as two beings, right? Two physical beings. So we're definitely moving into this from what I'm being shown, from what I'm seeing, feeling, and sensing, and then based also equally on the feedback that you've been giving in the comments, which is what brought me to do this video today, based on that shared space. Because yes, each counterpart is absolutely responsible for their own piece and part, but we are moving into a space of the shared space, okay? And still within this, each has to do their own part, but you may notice um, that as you're experiencing some of what they might be feeling telepathically or energetically, some of you have said you felt that they are also equally experiencing and feeling you. And this is deeply a form of communication, a telepathic, energetic communication. There's so much happening with these communications. I do also feel guided to drop in the comment a video I did around twin flame communication and what's happening in the silence. I did this back, maybe a month or so ago, but I'm going to drop that in the pinned comment for you guys as well if you want to explore that deeper for yourself. My intuition tells me that many of you are experiencing these and you're aware of it, but maybe it would kind of be helpful to hear it from another perspective so that you can broaden your discernment and understanding around that. Okay. Of course, always these messages are intended to support and affirm what you're already receiving or strengthening into owning some of the things that you may have been wondering. Because I also sense as we go through this, we have become so mastered at taking responsibility for ourselves and focusing on ourselves that many of you kind of go to looking at the counterpart as a last resort in some cases because you have become so self-responsible, right? And so I think that that's why this message is coming in so strong for me to share, because this really is a shared space. From what I'm sensing, you're going to know if this is true for you at this point because it's going to resonate as true. And then you work within that information, knowing that because you've stabilized in your inner union so deeply, that it is opening back up to recalibrate the connections to where we are now. Okay. I've also been shown, this is not something I always talk about, but I have been given information and very, very deeply drawn to this window that we're moving into. I did not even actually realize that today is the spring equinox. So this is a very, very powerful time for beginners. But then we're moving into the time of these very powerful eclipse seasons. One we have coming up on the 25th, and then we have one coming up on April 8th, which there is a path of totality for this eclipse on the 8th that's actually going to be passing through right exactly where I live. So I know that this is a very powerful time. For those of you who feel guided, you can go check out that path as it's moving through the states, like Texas, up through where I am in central New York, and then onward and wherever it's going. I'm aware of where it is in the states because this is where I am. But I know that this is a very exceedingly powerful time. Because of that, I was shown April 1st, and it's right in the middle of the two dates. Okay. And this is so funny because last night, it's right in between the two eclipses. And I was guided last night. I got this download around me resurrecting the Sacred Circle of Love, which was a group that I used to hold monthly here locally in upstate New York. But I felt guided to resurrect it in the new energy with those of you on my Harmonious Hearts channel. And ironically, I received some confirmation from a friend this morning, not realizing that April 1st is actually, I guess, Mercury goes retrograde. You see that I'm clearing, right? We're really clearing these high heart energies. The throat, the heart, and the high heart is really, really opening up. So some of you may be feeling this back area, the back of the shoulders, the back of the throat, and the neck, like really wanting to open up. So I just want to acknowledge that and also hold space to allow that to occur deeper and supporting us and opening up and receiving more and more of our true essence into our heart and into our voice, into our high heart area. Oh, I feel that, allowing it all to open up through our whole system, masculines and feminines holding this space for us to ground into who we truly are at new and deeper ways. Okay, perhaps Sacred Circle of Love is speaking. Okay, so yeah, wow. All right. And that was how I would really move with those sacred circles. I would ground them in on a date, and then the energy would just work. And then when we would meet, it would come into like a channeled group session in the energies where it was messages and also a group activation meditation, like a global energy we were working with. And I'm believing that this is going to be happening. So I'm going to drop that in the pin comment as well. But why that whole story came about was because a friend told me that Mercury goes retrograde on the 1st, which is about that energy of resurrection, right? Going back into the energies from the past and bringing forth what makes sense for now. So yes, I'm reconnecting with the sacred circle of love, but it's going to be in the new energies, in a new foundation, in a new way, with many new beautiful souls. Okay. So stay tuned for that information if you feel guided to partake in that. So there's just a lot why I felt so guided to speak about those dates in that time is it does feel like a lot is going to be moving very, very quickly. Okay. I've been seeing the energies of like, for those of you who are aware of like the card meanings with the tarot card, like a lot of the old distortion and distraction and the energies that have been between the counterparts are going to be dissolving, disintegrating, unraveling and clearing out. Okay. And it does actually feel like this is going to be happening pretty swiftly in comparison to how maybe you felt like things have been going pretty slow, but that we needed that time and space to go slow and really embody, integrate, and get stabilized. But now, because we are so stable, this things can start to move much quicker in the energetic field, which is going to translate to some movement in the physical world. And I am obviously not certain exactly what it's going to be, but I do feel guided to share the awareness that over these next 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, there will be a lot of opening and movement that's going to be occurring. So use this time to continue to stabilize into yourself, into your heart, into your truth. Continue to hold space to allow yourself to process whatever is coming up for you, right? You're not going backwards. What we're doing is we're going into those original frozen pockets, into the original wounds, and we're clearing them up. We're healing them, we're cleaning them, we are retrieving those parts of our true essence as we dissolve and clear out the distortion and the confusion and the chaos. Okay. So if you are wanting something to focus on, continue to align with your highest true potential, continue to align with divine timing and giving all of this process the space and grace that's necessary physically, emotionally, and spiritually to come to a true fruition in the physical world. And know that you're going to be experiencing it in the energetics and in your emotions prior to it manifesting more fully into the physical world. Okay. And you can continue to work with all of those parts and pieces of who you are, right? To support the foundation that you're creating or wanting to create and build, right? Remembering the essences of how you want to feel, right? Allowing the things that are no longer in alignment with that at this time to dissolve or to move and be relieved out of your space. Okay. Know that some of the things may come back in a new way down the road, but at this time, it's very important for us to align with that true core soul energy and essence above all else. Okay. Your own internal truth. Okay. Allowing yourself to more deeply stabilize into your connection with the earth, aligning with your highest soul connection to your highest power, calling in your higher self and your highest essence. If you feel guided, actively, gently asking to recalibrate with your divine counterpart into where your energies are now. And this will happen naturally, but if you want to take a more active role and that feels resonant with you, that's something that you could ask um, for. I have also right here, I feel real quick to tell you guys, I do get messages around people wanting to book a session with me, but uncertain of what session to book because they have a bunch of different things going on, or they're not quite sure. Like they kind of feel like they have a block or a frozen pocket, but they don't know what it is. This is where you can just simplify things for yourself and just choose the 1 hour coaching session. Because within that, if you read the description, I say in there, Danielle, like where you just said, I don't even know what I need. I just know I need something. And that's the beauty of not needing to know. That's where when we come together, we co create at the soul level whatever your soul needs. And oftentimes it's just some of our areas that have been so deeply frozen where we protected ourselves. um, there's just a need in the system for the support to see that it's like a blind spot, and then we work with it, and as it thaws, we're able to have that dialogue and that opening. And what I see with people is often they're like, oh my gosh, I knew that. But there's like a piece they couldn't quite see, or there was almost so much. Like, have you ever gone through it, like where you're experiencing so much and you have pieces of it, but you can't quite see how it all comes together? So, in essence, we just help to clear out the clouds and the confusion and any layers that are frozen so that your system can come into that resolved alignment. And obviously there's stuff you guys can do on your own, and I know that you are, and these sessions are here offered for those if you feel like you're at one of those pockets where you need support. And I do that because there's been times that I've needed that. If you guys listen to my um video that I did around the divine counterparts in Atlantis and Lemuria, I kind of knew some of that, but there was a ton that was frozen in my system that I needed support unearthing in a QHHT session with another person because there was so much frozen soul trauma. I just wasn't strong enough at that time to fully experience it all on my own. And that's okay, right? Like sometimes we need support. And then as we build the muscle and get the tools, we're able to move forward um that much faster on our own. Okay. I feel guided. I'll drop that in the comments for you guys too, because I feel like some of you might be interested in that story and that sharing. All right. There is a lot coming up for the counterpart collectives right now. Um, so if you're feeling this and experiencing it, yeah, let us know in the comments. Um, and like I said, overall, maybe know that there is going to be some space and some stuff going on over the next few weeks to a month in particular. I will definitely be here to support this process with videos. Okay. I sometimes do daily or at least every day, other day, or every couple days. You at least get a few videos a week from me, sometimes more. But this is what I'm here for. We're here to support the ascension and evolution of these energies for sacred unions and sacred love on this planet, as it's such an important part of our planetary ascension, because our connections and our relationships in every area affect humanity, and they affect our ability to ascend and evolve as a species and as a planet. So these twin flame divine counterpart connections are a very integral part of the planetary ascension for those of you that feel connected to this information and to these initiations that you've experienced. Okay. So I want to thank you so very, very much for doing all of this deep, gorgeous work that you've been doing, how you've been stabilizing within yourselves, and how this is allowing the energies to come together now in new and deeper ways. How the feminine collectives have been moving through their shadow work and tempering and self mastering and loving themselves in new and deeper ways. And how the masculine collectives were holding space deeply in the shadows for the feminines to be able to move and work through that, and how absolutely incredibly gorgeous and powerful it is that we have reached this very pivotal and amazingly powerful checkpoint, that we are allowing the next levels of this process to occur. When I look at it, it's like when the shutdown first happened back in the spring of 2020 on our planet, that was a huge pivotal point. And it was, yes, when we all went through a point, but it was, when I look at it now, I can see that it was a incredible time frame where the general overall collective feminines really started moving and going through it, in transmuting and moving through dark night of the soul. And even for those of us who were already doing this work, it was almost like a checkpoint of like, this is go time. This is where we are taking things to a whole new level. And I don't know about for you guys, but for me, my space and everything I was doing got quadrupled. And it was intense to re-navigate and reestablish myself within that. And then every way that I've grown and learned to stabilize. But now here we are 3-4 years later, where we actually are much more stable in that bigger bandwidth of energy. So we went from having about 25% of our ability to navigate to actually receiving the space to move into quadruple that amount. So 100% comparatively to where we were. Are we fully evolved in everything we can ever be? No, of course not. But for what we were being called to work with and what was opened up for us in 2020, the space quadrupled, and now we have done enough where we are stable within that. So please give yourself props. And then also know now we're going into another level of that, but because we're stable, it's allowing for the other side of things to occur, balance, harmonize, recalibrate, which is focused on, in that sense, with allowing the masculines to now recalibrate and move into their truth, to allow their energies to align with where they're meant to be, where they want to be, and letting them go through those deeper levels of self discovery that the feminines have had space to do. And also realizing and knowing and acknowledging that the feminines are still walking this as well, which is beautiful because we are moving into deeper and deeper levels of our authenticity individually and together, which if these past 4 years were really going into the depth of the heaviness and the shadows, right? And doing that deep work, we're stable enough now to come out the other side. Is there still more to do? You guys are already feeling it and you know it, but also tell me how much more you're able to do it. Now you know how to hold space for yourself. Now you know how to love yourself, or you're learning to every single day deeper and deeper. You've been unraveling self betrayal. You've been allowing those distractions and distortions and overgiving energies to dissolve. So just keep going. All right, loves? Okay. I think I'm going to leave it there because I think it's gotten a little bit long, but I really, really, really wanted and needed to acknowledge these things for you. And you know what? As I'm sitting here, I'm going to drop that sacred circle of love on the calendar. I'm going to put that in the comments as well. So I'm going to put those 3 videos I said, and I'm also going to drop my schedule in the comments, which will have my one-on-ones as well as the group sessions. All right, loves. Keep going. You're doing beautiful. You're amazing. Thank you so much for your presence and your power and your beauty. I love you, and I'll see you very, very soon, especially in these energies. All right. Love you. Bye.